Let's look at some of the reasons why US would need Venezuela's oil. Even though US is one of the biggest producers of oil in the world, it's actually the world's largest oil producer. It produces billions of barrels of oil each year, and that is what US accounts for a fifth of total global oil production. Almost 21% of the global oil production is dependent on US. The output ballooned due to the shale revolution in the past. In the last 15-20 years, there has been a revolution in oil production in the US territory. On the other hand, Venezuela, if you look at it, only around 1% of total global oil production comes out of Venezuela. So that gives you a picture as to would US really need these figures, these access to the Venezuelan oil reserves. So moving on, we can look at the different classification of crude oil across the globe. First one is, of course, heavy, the viscous crude oil that we have. Then we have the medium, which is not as viscous as the heavy one, and then the light one, which is produced through the shale oil refineries in the US territory. This is mostly it's produced in the US territory, whereas on the other hand, heavy crude oil is produced out of the Venezuela's oil reserves. Moving on, we'll need to look at why would US want Venezuela's oil? The first one, of course, is that US shale oil tends to be light. We remember in the last graphics we looked at the most right one on the graphics, which showed that the US shale oil is quite light, and US refineries set up primarily for heavy crude. This is a crucial point because US refineries have been built in a way that they would only be able to handle the heavy crude that we had on our screens. But on the other hand, the shale companies produced only the shale, the most light version. So that is why Venezuela has the largest oil reserves, and that is where Venezuela comes in, and that is where Venezuela could provide the US side that heavy oil that we were talking about. And most of Venezuela's oil is heavy crude, as we've been talking about, and this is the most crucial point, and that is why many experts have been suggesting that this invasion took place. And if US wants gasoline, it needs that heavy oil. That shale oil cannot provide gasoline to most of US customers. It would need that heavy oil, which is mostly located on the Venezuelan side, and that is what is required. To give you an overall scale, this is the overall global oil reserve. You can see Venezuela has the most, the biggest oil reserves in the world, biggest known, 302 billion barrels is what some experts estimate. Whereas on the other hand, you can see other countries such as Libya, which has only 48.4%. US has around 35 billion barrels in its reserves. Iraq has 148, around 150. So which one strikes the most? Which is Venezuela. It has over 300 billion barrels of oil in its reserves, and that is why US would want to have a look at that, have some access to it, which it has not been able to. Many experts suggest that even though Trump has been arguing that the main reason why they have invaded is because the illicit drug trade perpetrated by the Venezuelan side, but it's mostly about the oil reserves is what many experts have been suggesting. Back to you.